Every human being is driven. This is an amazing thing because both Jewish mysticism as well as um, other mystical pathways say the same thing, and that is that we have within us a mind, the capacity to think, which is amazing because there's no animal which can think. All animals are built on their emotions. They may be very, very smart, but there's a difference between smart and intelligent. I remember a guy once came to me, he says, I'm not dumb, I'm just ignorant. In other words, dumb is when you know something and you don't do it. Ignorant is when you don't know the thing. There's a huge difference between an intelligent person and a smart person. A smart person, they're people, they're savants, maybe even autistic people that are geniuses, but they're not intelligent. They're not able to take information and discern through it what should I be doing, what shouldn't I be doing. That is a mature person. That he's able to control himself or herself for the sake of doing what is right or even what is smart, even what's in my long-term interest versus my short-term interest. So the idea of intelligent versus smart is infinitely different. Bees are much smarter than humans. And it's sad to say, but bees can calculate distances to flowers and communicate them better than supercomputers can. You understand what I'm saying? A little bee's mathematical ability is better than Einstein's. There are apes, when they do these tests, these things are geniuses, but they're smart, but they're not intelligent. Because we have something that animals don't have. We have a prefrontal lobe. We have a brain that is independent of our emotions. The only thing that's running the animal brain is their emotion. I want that, I don't want it. The human being can stop for a moment and say, what should a human being want? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? Okay. Now, of course, when we're in stress, it's hard for us to think objectively, but that's not what this conversation is about. It's about the three things that we have. We have a mind, which is intelligence. But then, like an animal, we have a heart. All animals, all humans, we all have hearts. And what's the heart? The center of emotions. How does this feel? Do I want it? Do I not want it? And then the last is we have a liver. A liver is the ego. And ironically, animals have egos too. For an animal to want to feed itself, it has to have a love for itself. And every living thing wants its own survival. So we all have egos. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because we have to have an ego. The whole idea of Buddhism is against the ego. It's actually quite silly because we have to have an ego in life. The ego is the drive, right? I have to love myself. The opposite of loving myself, God forbid, is hating myself. And that's really what depression is. A person basically hates themselves, which is another way of saying shame or some repression. Somebody caused them to hate themselves, and then they lose the classic symptoms of depression, losing sexual desire, losing appetite. Why? Because when you love someone, the Hebrew word for love has in it the word hav, you give to them. But if you don't love them, then you don't give to them. And so when you don't love yourself, you don't give yourself your own desires. You don't care about yourself. So there's kind of the person that's taking care of the body. The body has these desires. So this is very, very important, what I'm going to say now. So to the extent that the ego is large, is the extent that you want to get your way. And that's why a little child who's got, feed it, and every time it cries, you give it. So the ego builds. And then by the time the child's 2 years old and he wants the keys to the car, you don't give him. I remember seeing my little sister throwing a tantrum because she wanted the keys to the car. And my grandmother at that time didn't give her the keys, right? So on one hand, you say it's crazy. You think you should get the keys to the car, but maybe if you're so important, everything you want, you should get. So now you see how our ego is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it drives us, but it's a curse because it can create anger. And of course, anger can destroy a human being, of course, destroy other people too. So the question is, what is the antidote to this problem? You have to have an ego. I like to call it's like the gas in the car. You have to have gas, otherwise you're not going to go anywhere. But if all you're doing is pressing on the gas, you're going to crash, you're going to kill yourself and probably kill someone else along the way. So the antidote is Judaism. This is what Judaism is all about. When I walk and I have to as I will show you now. Kiss the mezuzah. You go through, Judaism says, you see a mezuzah on the door, kiss it. What's that all about? It's about remembering God. In other words, if there's a God, there's something that is higher and greater than me. So if that's the case, I'm not the ultimate in this world anymore. And when it comes to food, right? So whenever I eat some food, let me show you this little package here, right? Some organic green cocoa, great stuff, recommend it. But the question is it kosher? There's a kosher symbol there. So again, am I living life? Yeah, I'm living life. But I am also under God. And that is what Judaism is about. The more we submit to God, the more we have humility with our ego. And only if you have humility and ego are you a functional person.